Now, our External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, has also weighed in on what's been happening in the Indian Ocean as well. He's also pointed out towards international law when specifically asked about Iranian ships and their presence in the Indian Ocean as well. He says India has looked at this entire issue with a humane angle. Specifically, of course, talking about the rescue operations that India had planned to undertake as well, following the strike on an Iranian ship in international waters, and also, of course, talking about giving permission for the docking of another Iranian ship much earlier, and its sailors, of course, being given accommodation here in India. Let's listen to what Dr. S. Jaishankar said a short while back.
Here's the situation. You had these ships, and we got a message from the Iranian side that one of the ships, which presumably was closest to us, to our waters at that point of time, wanted to come in to our port. They were reporting that they were having problems. So my recollection is this was on the 28th. And on the 1st, we said, okay, you can come in. It took them a few days to sail in. Then they docked in Kochi. The ship is there. Obviously, the people on the ship, a lot of them were young cadets, that is my understanding. They have disembarked. They are in a nearby facility. So we viewed this, look, this ship, or these ships, because there were two others as well. I mean, when they set out and came here, the situation was totally different. They were coming in for a fleet review, and then they got, in a way, caught on the wrong side of events. For us, when this ship wanted to come in, and that too in difficulties, I think it was the humane thing to do. I think we were guided by that principle. And in a sense of the other ships, one obviously had a similar situation in Sri Lanka, and they took the decision which they did, and one unfortunately didn't make it. I think where we really approached it from the point of view of, in a sense, of humanity, of other than, whatever the legal issues were. And I think we did the right thing.
Well, let's take this across to our guests as well. We have Major General Rajan Kochar with us, and also Commander V.K. Jaitley with us. And Srinjoy Chaudhary, my colleague, also joins us. So Srinjoy, coming to you first. Very well explained there by Dr. S. Jaishankar as well. And he was speaking specifically about IRIS Lavan, which docked in Kochi. Of course, it sent a signal to its Indian counterparts on the 28th of Feb, which is precisely when the bombing of Iran had begun by Israel as well as the United States. And it was given permission to dock by the Indian authorities on the 1st of March. So Jaishankar talking about the humanitarian angle here, about how all those sailors have now been allowed to disembark in Kochi, and the ship also being allowed, of course, to dock in Kochi.
Yeah, that's fine. The Indian government was requested for help. The Indian government said fine, and they can stay here. Is a clear message that is going out. But what we are also hearing from our sources, that the claim that Indian intelligence actually tipped off the Americans about the ship that was torpedoed is preposterous. What we are hearing is that no such thing happened, and it is completely unacceptable to claim that India tipped off the United States about the presence of an Iranian ship in these waters. That point has been made very clearly by top government sources 2 times now.
Absolutely, Srinjoy. That's an important clarification as well. Those rumors need to be laid to rest outright. Let me take this across to Commander V.K. Jaitley as well. Commander Jaitley, an important message coming from Dr. Jaishankar. Not many people had known about IRIS Lavan, but this was a series of engagements between India as well as Iran that took place starting the 28th of Feb. And that particular ship, which was in the Indian Ocean, was eventually allowed to dock in Kochi. So the External Affairs Minister emphasizing what he describes as the humanitarian angle, and in some cases, countries also bound by law to engage in this kind of an outreach at a time of conflict.
That's very correct. When any ship raises an alarm that we have some mechanical problem, so the country which is nearby, they are bound to give the support to them. And India did exactly the same thing what it is supposed to do as a civilized country. We just gave them the refuge in Cochin. They are there and they will be helped. Not only just docking, even if some repairs are required, they will be done. And as far as the other case is concerned, IRIS Dena, how it was sunk and whether the Indian gave some information, it's totally bullshit. You know, when the international fleet review was taking place in Visakhapatnam, their US ships were also participating in the same. And the Iranian ships were also there. So they knew that here is the Iranian ship and what time it is leaving, etc. Every information was there with the US. It's only that they took action when it was south of Sri Lanka. They didn't want to take any action probably when it is, opposite Indian waters. So the moment it went to international waters south of Sri Lanka, they took the action, thinking that this ship may be without any weapons, but tomorrow it will take the weapons and then probably attack them itself. So why not finish them off? So it is their decision.
And General Kocher, what's your view of this? Of course, the distress signal from IRIS Lavan did come on the 28th. And as far as IRIS Dena was concerned, it was struck by the United States on the 4th of March while it was in international waters in an economic zone. Of course, 40 nautical miles off the coast of Sri Lanka. So it was in international waters at that point in time. But that has created a lot of domestic furor, as you would have also witnessed. What do you have to say about what Dr. Jaishankar had to say in terms of explaining the sequence of events there?
Thank you, Siddharth, because I think this statement of Minister of External Affairs is relevant and extremely relevant to give an explanation and also to tell the country the right you position, because there is too much of social media being generated in the form of a criticism of the Indian government's move. See, as per the maritime law and the protocols, what India has done is the correct procedure, because as the commanders also explained here, that whenever there is a distress call, it is the responsibility of the country which has the coastline closest to the location of that ship to come to its aid. Second important aspect to understand is that India and Iran are not at war. So there is no compulsion on India not to help Iran, because we are two very civilizational powers, very old friendly relations which go back to 500 years of civilization. So I think a very, very correct procedure and a protocol has been followed by the Indian government. With regard to the ship in the Sri Lankan waters, we need to understand it is not India's ocean. It may be Indian Ocean, but it is not India's ocean. And this is in international waters, because exclusive economic zone, I think the people in the opposition are not clear that what are the ramifications for an exclusive economic zone. Exclusive economic zone does not mean the ships cannot move in that area. They cannot do any economic activity in the area, but there is a freedom of navigation as far as this zone is concerned. And that is why Sri Lanka had absolutely no control of any of the ships moving in their exclusive economic zone. I think that aspect needs to be clarified.
All right, there was something else that the External Affairs Minister also said during the course of that interaction. And this is, of course, in the wake of the criticism that the government has been subjected to principally by the Congress party. Now, he's decided to put things in perspective. And he says that consider the reality of the Indian Ocean. Don't just go by some claims being made in the social media. He's talked about how in the Indian Ocean, there's actually a global naval presence. There are foreign forces present in different parts of the Indian Ocean. So that strategic reality needs to be understood on the part of critics. So he's of course also spoken about Djibouti, Hambantota in Sri Lanka, the American Fifth Fleet, which is located in Bahrain as well and essentially serves as the naval headquarters in more ways than one in that part of the world as well. So Dr. Jaishankar essentially saying that something that General Rajan Kochar said a short while back, that it is the Indian Ocean, General Kochar, not India's ocean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to weigh in a bit more on that, because what he's trying to essentially tell the Congress party here is that we are not the only forces operating in the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean is of great strategic significance and military significance to a whole host of powers. And therefore, in some ways, it might be inevitable that the Indian Ocean also becomes part of this extended theater of conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. See, we have a very strong presence in the Indian Ocean, and we don't own that ocean. So I think that aspect has to be clear to the opposition parties today, because they have an impression that anything which happens in the Indian Ocean can be controlled by India, or it becomes the responsibility of the government of India to ensure that nothing goes wrong in the Indian Ocean. I think so that's a misconception we must lay to rest, because Indian Ocean is the international maritime ocean where all countries of the world carry out the exercises here. As you rightly said, that in the West Asia region, the Americas, CENTCOM is there, yes. And they have their Fifth Fleet there, and they regularly carry out exercises in this area. And also one needs to understand that there was a point being made about some intelligence given away and things like that.
Yeah.
So we need to understand one thing, that in today's era of technology and everything, where satellite communication is available to everyone, and America is one of the strongest proponents of this technology. For America, it's not difficult to find out that what all ships are operating in the Indian Ocean. As a matter of fact, India also has a similar facility in Gurgaon, where we have a satellite system there which monitors all our Indian Navy activity in all the oceans. Okay. Not only Indian Ocean, in the Indo-Pacific also, as well as the Mediterranean Sea. We have a system in place where each and every footprints of our Indian ships are being monitored.
But can I push back on that argument just slightly? And Commander Jaitley, I'll just come to you, because this is, of course, in the context of the domestic politics that's playing out here in India. Now, the Congress party has also been pointing out towards quotes being made by people in government as well as the Navy, that the Indian Ocean is India's sphere of influence. So we may not own the waters, but do we exercise enough influence to bear upon other forces operating in the ocean to exercise an element of restraint when it comes to the theater of conflict extending to our own neighborhood? Are we in a position to tell them that just because your adversary happens to be in our waters, it doesn't necessarily give you the license to start shooting missiles and sinking those vessels or torpedoing them? That is the implication of the Congress party's criticism, saying कि आप हमेशा बोलते हो कि Indian Ocean Indian sphere of influence में आता है, तो कम से कम आप दूसरों को बता तो सकते हो कि यहाँ पे अटैक मत करना. Is that a valid argument at all?
It's not a valid argument. Our territorial waters are only 12 nautical miles.
Yes.
Only 12 nautical miles. If any other country's ship or submarine enters that, yes, we have the full right to stop it, or even we will fire it if they don't surface and they don't give the logical reason why they are here. We can take action. But beyond that, even up to 24 nautical miles, you call it contiguous region, territory. There also you have got some sort of influence, but beyond that, any country can do any navigation part, any country. And beyond 200 nautical miles within the Indian Ocean, even your Russian ships may be there, Chinese ships, submarines may be there, American ships, submarines may be there. They are doing their silent operations. Nobody can stop them. So you can't keep on fighting with everybody. Why the hell you are here? No, you are not a headmaster there. They are international waters. Anybody is allowed to be there.
All right. Thanks a lot for that, Commander Jaitley. Now let's